Number 17, once again, I believe you guys could handle that on your own. You're going to do the positive situation and the negative situation. Solve both, you get your two answers. Number 18, the graph shows the amount of water in a bathtub since the drain plug was pulled. Identify and interpret the x-intercept of the graph. So, if this is your graph, x-axis, y-axis, what is your x-intercept? What is your x-intercept? X, where does the line cross the x-axis? 5, 0. So what does that mean? It means that it doesn't take 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It actually takes 5 minutes for the water gallon level to reach 0. So it takes 5 minutes for the bathtub to drain completely. And if you read your answers, there it is, answer C. Number 19, it says the slope of the line, whoops, sorry about that. Number 19 says the slope of the line through those 2 points, what is it? Well, you got to find it using the slope formula. And once again, the slope formula, you got to name these guys x and y, and the only way to tell the difference is to put a 1, 1 from your first point and a 2, 2 from your second point. That way you could use the formula m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, when you use the formula, please do the division and the subtractions and plug in your y2, which is 1, your y1, which is negative 8, your x2, which is 4, and your x1, which is 2. So the minus minus changes to plus plus. So you're going to end up with a 9 over 2 because 4 take away 2 is 2. And that's your slope, 9 over 2. Now, if you look at your multiple choice answers, it does not have it there. So 19, all of these are wrong. I've noticed several mistakes on this practice final. I didn't make it. I mean, I'd probably still make mistakes myself if I made it. But there are mistakes on it. Just keep in mind that this one, the final answer is 9/2. If you want, go to your last page and change those answers on number 19. Write down 9/2 so you'll know that that's the correct answer. Number 20. It's a little interesting because it has 2 variables. Nevertheless, it's done the same way. It's actually has 3 variables, A, X, and B. It says solve for A. So the goal is to get this guy all by himself on the left side of the equal sign. So could we get rid of, what would we get rid of first, the X or the minus 5? The minus 5. You're going to go plus 5 here, cancels out, plus 5 over here. Let me rewrite my problem. I have an AX equals B plus 5. For my final step, if I want to solve for A, that means I don't want this multiplication of X. So I would have to divide by X and it would cancel, and I would have to divide also by X. So ladies and gentlemen, this is my answer actually. A is all by itself. A equals B plus 5 over X, which is, there it is, option C. Number 21, they are asking us to find the slope, and again, you're going to use that formula from before. So you have your x, your y, your x, your y, your first point, your second point, and we know that the slope formula is y2 minus y1. So y2 is 2, y1 is 2, and what's going to happen on the top? You end up with 0. 2 take away 2, 0. On the bottom, 6 take away a negative 3. Yeah, it's going to be 9, but 0 divided by 9, 0 divided by anything is still 0. I guess the main point here on this question is if you have 0 on top, your answer is 0, and if you have 0 underneath, your answer is undefined. Number 22, we're going to do arithmetic sequence, and in this case, we could do this logically because it says find the next 3 terms. That's really no big deal. Let's analyze what's happening on this list of numbers. How do you get from a 5 to a 9? 9 to 13? 13 to 17. So what's the next number going to be? 21. And the next number? 25. And the next number? 29. That was easy, right? Okay, so 21, 25, and 29 is your answer. But you know what? That does not show that you guys truly understand arithmetic sequences. So what I want to do is I want to put a pause right here, and I want to move this to the side. All right? Now, let's talk about arithmetic sequences. Arithmetic sequences, ladies and gentlemen. This is something you need to know. This is the first time we see this. I apologize, but you're going to have to know this for the final. This is the final part that we never actually got to. An arithmetic sequence has a common difference. Arithmetic sequences have a common difference, and they usually call that common difference, they call it D. Okay? Kind of like M is slope, D is the common difference. Okay? I don't want you guys to freak out here, but the rule for an arithmetic sequence is A sub n equals A sub 1 plus n minus 1 times the common difference D. So A sub 1 is really the first term on your list, okay? First term on your list. We also already said that D is the common difference. So we should know A sub 1, we should know D. N is really the number that the nth term, I guess. The nth term. So A sub n is the actual number, but n is talking about the nth term. So check this out. Let me show you how it's going to apply in our situation. Like, let's say we had a XY table, and let's say we had a function y equals 2x plus 1, okay? So the input, let's say 2, what would that give us as an output? That'd give us 5 as an output, right? The input 3, what would that give us as an output? 7, right? The input 4, what would that give us as an output? 9. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're talking about a list of numbers, that list of numbers has to come from somewhere. And in this case, my list of numbers can't. Well, you know what? Let me. Might as well do this. Let me put a 1 right here. If I plug in 1, what do I get out? A 3. Okay. So my list of numbers, just looking at a list, are looking at your outputs. So you would really have 3, 5, 7, 9. So let's pretend that you didn't know that list 3, 5, 7, 9 came from the outputs of the function y equals 2x plus 1. So I could ask you, is this arithmetic? Now, in order for you to determine if the list is arithmetic, I already know it's arithmetic because I made this function, and we already saw how these outputs came out. But in order for you to determine if it's arithmetic, it has to have a common difference. Arithmetic sequences has to have a common difference. So from 3 to 5, how did I get from 3 to 5? Adding 2. How do I get from 5 to 7? Adding 2. 7 to 9, adding 2. So there is a common difference. Ladies and gentlemen, to find that common difference, the easiest way to calculate your common difference is to just take one number and subtract the one right before it. So 5 take away 3 is 2. 7 take away 5 is 2. 9 take away 7 is 2. So we know for a fact that the common difference is 2. You guys agree? Yeah. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this above formula to come up with the machine that actually produced this list. Now we already know that machine is y equals 2x plus 1. But let's say that we know that the common difference is 2. What is our a sub 1 term? What's our a sub 1 term?
3.
3 in this case, right? So let me do this. My machine, my a sub n machine, will be equal to, I want to put my first term 3 plus parenthesis, n is the number, minus 1 times the common difference, which is 2. Are you guys with me? Now, if I were to distribute 2 times n and 2 times negative 1, I'll get 2n minus 2 and bring down the plus 3. And let's continue simplifying this guy. and I'll have 2n, and what's the 3 minus 2 over here? Plus 1, correct? So a sub n equals 2n plus 1. This is the machine that produces, that outputs 3, 5, 7, and 9. You guys understand that? So this is why I showed you this formula. We're going to keep working with this. I'll probably forget to erase it off of the board during your final, so you could use it to come up with the machine on those difficult questions. Now, the above question that we just did, it was too easy. All you did was find the next 3 terms. But let me ask you this. What if I told you, imagine this, 3, 5, 7, 9. What's the next term? 11. The next term? 13. So if I told you find the first, second, third, fourth, fifth term, that would be 11, right? If I told you find the 6th term, that would be 13, right? But what if I told you to find the 38th term? I mean, it would be ridiculous for you to keep going and make this list 38 numbers long. The easier way to do it would be to calculate your a sub nth rule, which is 2n plus 1. And if you want to find your 38th number, all you got to do is plug in 38 right there. Your 38th number will be 2 times 38 plus 1, which will be 76 plus 1. So the 38th number is really 77. Pretty crazy, right? So I know this is a whole new lesson. I apologize. Who knows? If we're not comfortable with this by the final, I could delete it. But it's really not that difficult, especially on those easy questions where they say find the next 3 terms. So let's get back to the practice final. So number 23, it says find the function that represents the relationship. Okay, well, remember x and y values are simply coordinates. So you have a 0 up on top and a -3 right here, a 1 and a 3, a 2 and a 9, a 3 and a 15, a 4 and a 21. They give you these different machines. So if you plugged in 0 into x, do you get out a -3 right here? The answer is yes. If you plug in a 1 right here into x, do you get out what? Do you get out a +3? No. So this cannot work. Does that make sense? So your table needs to work. I mean, this machine needs to work for the entire table, not just for one question or not just for one ordered pair. So it's really inputs and outputs. The top one is the in, the bottom one's the out. So the top one for inputs, that's what you're putting into the machine. The output's what you're taking out of the machine, your answer. So let's say I plugged in 0 for x. Do I get out a -3? If I plug in a 0 for x, do I get out a -3? On B? If I plug in a 0 right here, do I get out a -3? Yes, so 0, 3 works for B so far. How about plugging in a 1? If I plug in a 1, what do I get out? 3 times 1 is 3. 3 take away 3 is 0. That's not 1, 0. So that doesn't work either. Does that make sense? Okay, how about the next one? The next one, if I plug in 0 for x, that's going to be 0 minus 3. It is -3. Plug in 1 right there. 6 times 1 is 6. Minus 3, it is 3. Plug in 2 right there. 12 minus 3, it is 9. So we could see that C is the correct answer. Does that make sense? Good.